everybody, Dr. Jaime here, and you are about to listen to the Dr. Jaime Show audio experience. I hope you enjoy the tips and advice in this segment.
Hey everyone, Dr. Jaime here with the Dr. Jaime Show audio experience, and today I am overjoyed to have with me Dr. Uhuru Smith, owner of Renew for Wellness, an anesthesiologist. That's right, guys. We have an expert with us today that is going to chat with us on the top 5 ways to stay healthy in the holiday season. Dr. Smith, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so we have to know, with the holiday season approaching right now, what are a few ways that we can stay healthy? Because let me tell you, there is going to be more food and more wine shoved in front of our faces than any time during the year.
Well, I think the number one way, probably everybody talks about over and over again, is stress management and trying to manage your stress levels. But I think what people don't really talk about is, what is it about stress that's so terrible? And I like to think of stress and, other things that are bad for us in terms of hormones and substances that are being released in our body that can cause damage. So when I think of stress, I think of cortisol, I think of insulin. And I think that's one of the pieces of the conversation of stress that people sometimes don't really get into, is that every time you get really stressed out, your body immediately starts to release these chemicals and hormones, the first of which being like epinephrine and cortisol. And so trying to get ahead of that and manage your stress before you get stressed out is, I think, one of the biggest things that we can do to stay healthier.
Okay, excellent. So, and you might talk about this eating at some point, but is there anything that we can do, like eat differently or take deep breaths? Like, what should we do so that these chemicals aren't being released in high doses?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the first things is that you think about is, how do you really start your day? So you can start your day off with some breathing exercises like we talked about just now, doing like 20 or 15 deep breaths where you inhale deeply, count to 4, exhale deeply, count to 4. Or if you are a person that likes to do yoga or some other type of exercise, you could start your day off with that. Many people feel pressed for time, so you just have to realize that even 10 minutes is going to help you start your day with a better mindset. As far as food is concerned, to answer your question, consuming, you've got to think about like proteins versus like sugars versus high glycemic sugars versus low glycemic sugars. If you always think about keeping your protein levels a little bit higher and trying not to eat as many low glycemic or high glycemic index carbohydrates, like things that are like white sugar, so sweets, all of those are going to increase the amount of glucose that your body is putting out, and then your pancreas is struggling trying to keep up by kicking out insulin. We can help to normalize that reaction by eating more protein.
Okay, I love that. So I'm going to keep that in mind myself, because I have to say I do have a sweet tooth, and don't laugh at me, don't yell at me, Dr. Smith, but yes, I bought a bunch of candy to give away to the trick-or-treaters, and it's all gone. So I know that I'm never going to buy my candy early ever again. The sweets cannot sit in front of me, but that's such a great rule of thumb, keeping the protein higher. I love that. Okay, so the first tip to stay healthy in the holiday season is really focusing on that stress management. What was another tip you wanted to share with us today?
I would say the next one, probably very high on the list, almost equal to stress management or very much tied to it, is getting adequate amount of sleep. We talk, about sleep all the time, and there's all these studies coming out, but the more studies that we do and the more that we look at sleep, the more we realize how much we don't know about sleep. And there's a difference between like naps and sleeping 4 hours versus like sleeping 7 or 8 hours. versus like sleeping if you have a sleep disorder like obstructive sleep apnea, or if you use a CPAP machine, for example. And the reason is because the body needs restorative sleep. So taking a nap or sleeping for 4 hours when you really should be sleeping for 8 hours, or not using your CPAP if you have sleep apnea, all of those things are going to result in your body not normalizing its hormones and your brain not working out all of the things that it needs to work out for your memory, for your long-term memory during the day. So restorative sleep is really important, getting 7 to 8 hours. Some people even may need a little more than that. But 8 hours of sleep as a general rule is of restorative sleep. So that means you're going through all the phases of sleep. So sleep consists of 4 phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then REM sleep. And the restorative sleep happens in the 3rd phase of sleep, and REM sleep occurs thereafter, and you cycle back through those different phases. And stage 3 is where the body normalizes its cortisol levels, its insulin levels. Everything starts to correct that may be too high or too low throughout the day, and helps you to reset for the following day. And then during REM sleep, your brain processes information so that you can develop better long-term memory. So it stores memories from the day, and it helps your brain to function better over the long term. So restorative sleep is really important, and I think people forget that. They think that they can, go by on 4 hours or 5 hours tonight. But there's actually a study that just came out that's fascinating in dogs, where they found that if you deprive dogs of 1 night of sleep, it's the equivalent or worse than binge feeding them for 6 months straight. In terms of how much insulin your body kicks out. Yeah.
Wow.
Very.
Yeah, it is. And some people get that broken sleep, and that is so damaging. They feel so unrested. They're not clear-minded in the morning. And I don't want to get off on the sleep thing too much here, but just for the people that are listening, do you just have one tip? If someone is getting that broken sleep, can they exercise more to get better sleep? Do they need to see a doctor? Is there any remedy for those that are oh my God, Dr. Smith, my sleep is broken every night?
Right. I think, there's so much information about this, and most of the information is really good. There are a lot of things that need to be done in conjunction to ensure restorative sleep. So there's really not necessarily one thing. But one thing that I would bring up here is cut off your caffeine and sugar consumption as of noon as much as you can, because caffeine is one of the big disruptors of sleep. But I could go on and on about that. I mean, alcohol, people think that it's going to help them sleep, but it doesn't. It actually disrupts deep sleep. So drinking a glass or 2 of wine or a few cocktails can disrupt your sleep quite a bit at night. Looking at your iPad, blue light, if you have, that's why the Kindles and everything don't have any blue lights in them. So looking at your phone and your iPad, that actually disrupts melatonin secretion. Even the television to some extent does that as well. I mean, we could go on and on.
Wow. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, definitely. Putting that cell phone down for sure. I love cutting the caffeine off at noon. I think that's a great rule of thumb. Okay. So during the holiday season, we're going to work on our stress management. We're going to get that deep sleep. What are some other tips that we can use to stay healthy in the holiday season?
Exercise. Don't abandon your exercise program. I mean, remember that exercise is tied to all the things that we've already talked about. Exercise decreases your stress level. Exercise increases your restorative sleep. Exercise is going to cause your insulin levels to normalize, your cortisol levels to normalize, and it's going to improve your brain function. So don't give up your exercise, even if it's just 30 minutes 3 times a week.
And I love earlier you said something about even just 10 minutes, and that's what I talk to my clients about all the time, Dr. Smith, is I understand it's hard to drive 30 minutes to the gym in traffic, work out for an hour, then drive home. It doesn't always have to be that way. On those crazy days, we now have the ability to download an app on our phone and do a 10-minute arm exercise. Something is better than nothing. And I'm also a huge proponent during the holiday season, like October to December 31, maintain, don't gain. If you can lose weight, well, you go, girl, you go, guy. But for most of us, it's almost like a time where people pack on the pounds. So really keeping that exercise steady and maintain, don't gain. Okay, one of the tips that you've talked about in the past that I'd love for you to share today is portion control. How do we do this in the holiday season?
Yeah, this is really hard. I think that if you go into the holidays with the mindset that you're not going to deprive yourself, but you're not going to deprive yourself like if you want to try foods, but you're not going to overeat portions. So instead of saying to yourself, oh, you can't have any key lime pie, that you say, okay, I can have a little bit of key lime pie. And somehow I feel like that sort of tricks your brain into believing that you're not restricting yourself. The moment people feel restricted is the moment people tend to overdo something. So not really restrictions in terms of what you can eat, but how much. I think that really helps.
Okay. And I believe in like eating slower. I don't know if it's all in my mind, but what about like not scarfing down your Thanksgiving meal and having 4 plates?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Eating slower is a huge one. Chewing your food all the way. You know, people have a tendency to like chew really fast and just swallow, and chewing is part of the digestive process. I mean, your food, you have teeth to chew for a reason because the stomach can't process the food if you swallow it whole.
I love it. That's going to be the quote for this audio. You have teeth for a reason. I love it. Okay, and then I know there was a 5th tip that you wanted to share with us on how we can stay healthy in the holiday season.
The 5th thing was, not really something that necessarily that medical, although maybe my psychiatric colleagues would disagree, but learning just to say no to certain commitments and things. Like sometimes we just get overwhelmed feeling like we have to cook, we have to have X number of people over, we have to make the office Christmas party, we have to wrap all of our gifts by hand, we have to, all these things that we have to do, and I think it's better to just figure out that you can say no. Just say, no, I can't do that. This year I'm getting gift bags. Everybody's getting their gifts in a gift bag. I'm not wrapping any presents. Or, this year I'm not cooking. We're going to cater Christmas dinner. Or or ask people to bring a dish and make it a potluck.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just said I think learning how to say no is really important.
Yes, it is, and it's so funny about bringing a dish, and if you get called on to bring a dish, anyone listening right now, you're going to probably laugh, but some people consider it cheating if you bring something pre-made from your local grocery store. Just so you know, listeners, that is not cheating. That is saving time.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the pre-made dishes are delicious. So.
They are, and it's not cheating. Everything doesn't have to be made from scratch. You can ask for help in cleaning up if you are hosting a party. Use your resources around you. People do want to help, so don't feel like you have to do it all alone, and say no. Those are great tips. So everyone listening, Dr. Smith says if we want to stay healthy during the holiday season, we need to control our stress. We need to get deep, good sleep. We need to keep up with our exercise, have portion control. You have teeth for a reason. We need to chew our food and slow down and say no to certain things during the holiday season. Dr. Smith, thank you so much for taking your time and spending it on the Dr. Jaime audio. We appreciated you coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Everyone, you are listening to the Dr. Jaime Show audio experience. Do me a favor. Go to iTunes, go to YouTube, download the Dr. Jaime Show. That's right. Just click that subscribe button. And if you want, leave a comment as to what your biggest takeaway was from this particular segment. And remember, you have teeth for a reason. Chew your food, slow down, and enjoy this holiday season.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dr. Jaime Show audio experience. I really hope that you enjoyed the tips and advice given on today's segment. Do me a favor and go to iTunes and my YouTube, and please subscribe to that channel. Every subscribe, every like, every follow helps the Dr. Jaime Show grow so that we can bring you the best guest and the best content possible. And of course, as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to leave that as well. Talk to you soon.